I had barely buckled my seatbelt on the plane to Reykjavik, excited for a 3-month retreat away from the soul-numbing grind of city life and HOA meetings that felt more like interrogations than community updates, when my phone buzzed with a notification. Booking confirmed, Karen Mallory. 2 guests, 31 nights. And at first I laughed, assuming it must be a coincidence because there was no way that Karen, the self-appointed dictator of the Whispering Pines HOA, the clipboard-wielding menace who once fined me $150 for planting lavender that was too fragrant, and whose greatest joy seemed to come from sending 7 a.m. emails about garbage bins, being visible for more than 12 minutes after pickup would be the same woman who just booked my house through a luxury vacation rental platform under a generic guest profile with no photo. But after a quick check and a call to my neighbor Beth, who confirmed that yes, it was indeed Karen Mallory of Lot 6, dragging suitcases across my driveway while barking orders at her husband like a drill sergeant at a gardening boot camp. The irony hit me like Icelandic wind. Karen Mallory had unknowingly rented the home of her sworn HOA enemy, the man she'd tried to fine into oblivion, lecture into submission, and exile from the subdivision with thinly veiled threats about community standards. And the best part was, she didn't even know it yet. Because when I listed my place as a luxury retreat called Modern Pines Escape, I had scrubbed all personal identifiers, made everything neutral, professional, and upscale to attract high-paying guests and to avoid exactly this kind of HOA entanglement. But the gods of karma apparently had other plans. And now, the tyrant of Whispering Pines was sleeping in the guest room she once complained was too close to the fence line, soaking in the hot tub she claimed violated HOA thermal policies, and enjoying the piece of a backyard she had tried to have natural vegetation reclassified as invasive. All while I sat comfortably 3,400 miles away in a geothermal spa with my phone in hand, watching motion-triggered camera clips of Karen walking through my open-concept kitchen, scoffing at the stainless steel backsplash, rearranging throw pillows with military precision, and muttering to her husband, Don L., about how some people just don't understand curb appeal, oblivious to the fact that she was criticizing her own landlord's taste, and it got better every day. Because Karen's first instinct was to start fixing things. She opened my HOA-compliant mailbox with a screwdriver to adjust the door tension. She filed a noise complaint to the HOA against herself about leaf blower usage at my address, which didn't happen, and she sent a strongly worded email to the board about Modern Pines Escape needing a property standards inspection, not realizing that every complaint she made looped back to me, the rightful owner, the man she had tried to fine for hanging solar lanterns on a tree. And with every petty violation she documented, she sank deeper into the most ironic cell phone in HOA history. All while I logged every one of her actions through smart home sensors, noting how she moved the living room rug 1 inch to the left to realign the energy flow, or how she reset the smart thermostat daily to exactly 72.5 degrees Fahrenheit, claiming that preset comfort mode was a temperature dictatorship, until one day, she called the rental company's guest liaison, which was secretly me using a virtual number, and complained that the owner had left inferior patio furniture that didn't meet community standard weight thresholds. And when I asked, in my most calm, corporate voice, could you clarify where the threshold is written, she snapped, I am the standard, which I recorded, timestamped, and promptly saved to a growing folder labeled Karen Karma Chronicles. And as her stay continued, her obsession with correcting the house grew pathological. She swapped out my shampoo for HOA-approved natural blend brands. She left notes in the pantry about which spices needed relabeling, and she even scrawled passive-aggressive reminders in the welcome binder like, guests should respect the order of utensil drawers, which she then signed anonymously as a helpful neighbor. And it wasn't until day 22 that the true climax of this absurd opera arrived, because that's when Karen, nosy by nature, decided to snoop through the locked office drawer that I accidentally left half open, where she found a folder labeled HOA Appeal Letters, Alex Monroe, and a photo of me in front of the very same house smiling, arms crossed, middle finger slightly visible at hip level in subtle rebellion, and suddenly, all the pieces clicked into place, her face freezing in horror, lips parting as if to scream but no sound emerging. And I watched in live camera feed, from a cafe in Reykjavik as she stood motionless for nearly 5 minutes, jaw tight, eyes darting from the photo to the walls to the couch she had just insulted earlier that day, realizing she had not only rented her nemesis's home but had filed nearly a dozen HOA complaints about herself, committed multiple violations of the HOA charter she helped write, including renting in a private residence while serving as board president, and had physically altered a home she didn't own, all while her name and guest profile were on file with the rental agency I controlled. And when the realization fully bloomed, she staggered to the dining table, clutching the chair for balance, and muttered, "Oh my God, I've been living in his house, like it was haunted." Possessed by the spirit of defiance she had tried so hard to exorcise from the neighborhood. and within minutes, I received 3 urgent emails. First, to the rental platform, there's been a misunderstanding. I need to speak to the owner personally. Then to the HOA board, I may have temporarily occupied a property I now believe to be owned by a former member under dispute. And finally to me, through my direct contact page, Alex. I know we've had our differences, but please call me when you get this. I believe we've crossed wires and there may be a way to fix this. And I didn't answer, because the story was still unfolding, and I wanted to see how deep the rabbit hole went before she tried to crawl out. And in the meantime, I sent my neighbor Beth to check on the property, who brought cookies and a smile, and reported back that Karen looked like someone had just told her the earth was flat. And the very next day, Karen left the house 6 days early, citing urgent personal matters, and dropped the keys in the mailbox with a note that read, "Thank you for the opportunity. Would appreciate no mention of this visit to the board," which of course I screenshot, filed, and printed out to frame on my wall beside the now legendary photo of me with that perfectly timed middle finger. Because karma has many forms. Some wear robes, some carry gavels, but the best ones were name tags that say "Welcome, guest." It had been exactly 11 days since Karen Mallory left my house in a huff of self-inflicted disgrace. Keys unceremoniously dropped into my mailbox with the kind of note you'd expect from a war general asking for a ceasefire after bombing. The wrong coordinates, and though her visit had technically ended, the real fireworks were just beginning. Because if she thought leaving early and pretending it all never happened would make the problem vanish, she clearly didn't understand how HOA rules worked. I did, because she taught me. And the first thing I did when I got back from Iceland was walk straight into the HOA management office, holding a binder full of evidence-printed screenshots of her booking, motion-activated camera clips of her adjusting thermostat settings, copies of emails she sent to the board while staying inside my house, and a flagged printout of HOA Article 7. Section B. No active board member may lease, rent, or otherwise occupy a short-term rental property within Whispering Pines at any time. A rule Karen herself helped push through 2 years ago in a crusade against Airbnb invaders, which, in the purest form of poetic justice, now disqualified her from holding her board position retroactively. And the HOA manager, a usually detached guy named Larry, who always tried to stay. Switzerland, during our past conflicts, looked at the evidence, blinked 3 times, and said, "This is a mess." And I said, "No, Larry, this is justice." And what followed was a procedural symphony of HOA bureaucracy playing the song of Karen's downfall. An emergency board vote was scheduled for the following week to review recent conflicts of interest. And although it was labeled confidential, word spread fast because, let's face it, Karen had made too many enemies over the years. From ticketing a teenage neighbor for improper basketball hoop storage to threatening to fine the Petersons for having a flagpole that wasn't HOA approved. And now, those very neighbors were the ones showing up to the vote early, bringing lawn chairs, popcorn, and in one case, a Bluetooth speaker playing Another One Bites the Dust on loop, while Karen stormed into the clubhouse like a spooked raccoon, clutching her leather binder like it contained the nuclear codes, face pinched into the kind of expression that could sour milk. And when she took the floor to explain her side, she started with a dramatic sigh and launched into a monologue so detached from reality it bordered on science fiction, blaming the platform's misleading host listing, which was me, accusing me of entrapping her with a falsely labeled property, despite the listing being legally vetted and totally anonymous, and insisting she had no knowledge the home belonged to a former violator, which drew laughter from the room because literally no one besides her ever referred to me as a former violator. And when she realized the room was not on her